Welcome to Sacrilegious Discourse.
For this is what the Sovereign Lord says.
Why do you need prophets to tell people who you are and what you want?
If you can justify everything that the God of the Bible has done, then you can justify any of your behavior.
A lot of this mentality is trickling into what is now mainstream right-wing Christianity.
I am capable of empathy greater than this God of the Bible.
This is a Bible that they tell kids. This is the good Lord. This is the good book. He is fantasizing about murder, mass murder.
Head over to sacrilegiousdiscourse.com right now to find out how to leave us a review or support us on Patreon.
Hey there, sinners and saints. It's your favorite Bible-bashing duo from Sacrilegious Discourse, and we need your help.
That's right, folks. We're raising funds for some heavenly equipment and a studio that doesn't sound like it's in the depths of hell.
Our current setup, let's just say it's more apocalypse than audiophile.
So if you want to hear us dissect the Bible without the background noise of demonic squirrels, chip in a few bucks.
We're aiming for $5,000 to upgrade our audio and build a studio worthy of blasphemous banter.
Donate today and help us spread the good word of atheism.
You can find a link right on our homepage, sacrilegiousdiscourse.com. Every dollar counts.
Even if it's from your collection plate. Husband!
Wife!
Do you know what we're doing today?
Well, we've had a little bit of a break since we started talking about Haggai.
That's why I asked.
But we finished the book.
We did, but it was only 2 chapters.
It was only 2 chapters.
That's no great feat.
Right. Well, I mean, we've done a lot of books of the Bible.
There's only 2 books left after this.
I feel like this is so
Testament.
Far a pretty fantastic feat.
Well, yeah.
This is like almost we're going on 5 years of reading the Bible
this August.
Yeah, that's a long fucking time to read a goddamn book.
It really is, especially a book that you don't like, and that the more you read it, the more you fucking hate it.
And if you really think about it, think about how much shit we've talked about the Bible over that time, and how much we've learned, and how often we have not been struck by lightning. Yeah, or anything.
Although yesterday there was a fuck ton of lightning, like all over, not just our house or anything, like we didn't get struck, but like all over the Ohio area.
And still missed us. Yeah. And tornadoes too, but they didn't hit us either.
Nope.
Yeah.
And not only that, but like we were in one place, kid was in another place. We both have parents in various other places.
We all made it through.
Yeah. Like if God was like even trying to like randomly throw down a bolt and hit like even one of us, he had multiple targets and missed.
Failed so hard.
I mean, that was a bad fail. Because there was a lot of fucking lightning last night.
And this is not to diminish anybody that's ever had something happen to them.
No. And I'm so sorry if it sounded like I was fun-making of you. I'm fun-making of God.
Right. Yes.
No. I find it tragic. Anybody who's ever been hit by lightning.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't think that you had it coming.
No. Not at all.
Unless you're an asshole. But even then, you didn't have it coming.
Yeah, right.
You're just an asshole that got struck by lightning. And 2 separate events.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Our cat agrees.
Yeah.
He's over there. Meow.
So today, I believe we're getting into the wrap-up of Haggai.
Sure as fuck are.
Okay. And you got some good shit to go over?
I think so. I have a little bit of a Jewish perspective, particularly on the last verse of the 2-chaptered book.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you ready to do this?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it.
Okie dokie. All right. So we are going to wrap up the Book of Haggai.
Okay.
2 chapters.
Yeah.
Do you remember what this chapter or what this book was about?
I actually don't this time because I've been busy. We haven't been able to get our regular schedule going here lately, and it's been almost a week maybe. Well,
you're right. And this book took us back in time a little bit to when they were about to start rebuilding the second temple, and the people were like, "But I'm late, tired," and then.
Well, I'm going to interject here because actually, based on what we had been reading, it took us forward in time because we were earlier than the second thing.
Right. Okay. But
I'm just saying, depending on how you choose to look at it.
You're right. No, you're right. Like, we had got so far in the Bible, and then all of these minor prophets are back at time. So you're right.
Right.
So, at any rate, God is like, build that shit. Build my house.
Yeah.
And they're like, but I don't want to.
Right.
Do I have to do it right now? And he's like, but you have energy to build your houses.
Yeah.
And they're like, but it was supposed to be 70 years and we're not there yet. And God is like, I don't know. Get out your calendar. Let's do some math. And they were like, but it won't be as good as the old days. And God is like, really? Y'all need to fuck yourself. And then they're like, okay, whatever. And then
I felt like he was kind of a crybaby because he was just like whining about not having his fucking house. And
I think that they're all crybabies, if I'm being honest.
If you're God and you have infinite power and ability, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you give a fuck that you don't have a house? And why wouldn't you? If I were a God, I feel like I would be more concerned about my people getting settled in from, 70 years of fucking exile than I would be about them building my house. And I understand the meaningfulness behind it, but that's more of a human thing, not a God thing.
Well, and the thing is, though, that they had started it, but then they were like,
yeah.
And so then they stopped for like 14 years.
Right, and now we have a prophet who profits telling us that they need to finish building the fucking house.
Yes.
Because that's where they profit.
Exactly.
And profit.
Exactly. And it all depends, like, if you're trying to tell this story from a quote-unquote religious, what the Israelites were experiencing at that time from their God. Or if you're trying to tell this, no, for reals though, what the Israelites were experiencing at that time from their leadership, politically speaking.
Right.
Okay. But then there's also the, but how do the Jews today view it? Oh, no, but wait, even more, how do the Christians today view it?
Yeah.
And so you've got like these 4 different, what was happening stories.
Right.
So who was the crybaby? Who was wanting what? I mean, the whole thing is rather dumb anyway, if we're being honest.
I mean, it is the Bible.
It is the Bible. So that's what this book is about. Okay. Generally speaking. Right. But I'm going to go over a few points just to like bring it home, okay?
Yep.
All right. So in 538 BCE, okay?
Yep.
King Cyrus of Persia allowed the exiled Jews to return to Jerusalem after 70 years in captivity. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about the exile or the Babylonian exile or the exilic period, okay?
Yeah, and I just have to say this because of something we read a while back, and I recall it, and that's that to get to that 70 years, I feel like they had to do some creative math.
Yeah.
Remember we went, this was back in, I don't remember exactly which book it was, but we were covering.
It was one of those
like there's
people.
A way to get there, quote unquote, but it's not like the
it's not
most
exactly
direct
70.
line for, right? Yeah.
I mean, I think the best case that we could find was like 60 some odd years, like rounded up.
Sure.
So, and that again was doing some creative math.
It really was.
So this happened in 538. Okay, 2 years later, so 536. BCE, construction on the temple began, led by Zerubbabel or Zerubbabel
or something.
I like Zerubbabel.
One of those for sure.
Because that's just more fun.
Possibly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like, let's build this shit. But then the work stopped after 2 years in 534 BCE.
That's just boring.
Oh, working is like, why? If you don't have to, like, right? I'd so much rather paint, read, draw, write, play with stickers.
I'm trying to imagine life in the ancient times, right? And it feels like, what's really keeping these people? I mean, you could just like wander off and no one would really miss you, right?
It's not like they had Facebook to like identify you.
You don't got to check in,
right?
You know, like you don't have time clocks.
It's like, bitch, bye.
Are they going to really notice if you're not there? Or they'll be like, I guess Joe died. You know,
and they have so many kids. Do you think your mom would really be upset? I don't know. Like, I'm being mean because there are people with lots of kids today. And yes, obviously you'd notice if your kid went missing.
Right.
So sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you're just like, I don't want to build.
Right.
Couldn't you just be like, I heard there's a village over there. And then just like be a traveling person.
You know, it seems like that would be kind of easy to do, right?
Right?
Yeah.
And like the further away that you get, you just be like, oh, I'm a traveling prophet from way over there.
Reinvent yourself, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Go on a cruise and come back a different person.
I bet people did that.
I would. So the work stopped after 2 years in 534 BCE because, you know, all those people had left, right? Just kidding. Okay, so after 14 years of neglect, it just sat there, right? They only spent 2 years building, and then 2 years later they stopped.
Got it.
And so it just sat there being neglected for 14 years.
Okay.
Work on the temple then resumed in 520 BCE and was finished 4 years later in 516. Okay. And that we read about that in Ezra chapter 6.
Sure.
Okay. And so that's like where we're at when we start this book. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm going to interject here too a little bit because I feel like after 14 years, probably something happened like a drought or, you know, bad crop or something like that where they're like, oh, God's punishing us for this.
And that's exactly.
They had to blame it on something, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, well, let's build his house real quick.
And you know what sucked is when they started like back up saying, let's get back into this and God will stop the drought, which is exactly what happened. There were droughts and stuff. And God's like, but I'm going to stop now.
Yeah, but it wasn't God doing it. It was just shit happens.
No, yeah. But when they went to go do that, all of the materials that they had gotten went to waste. Oh, like all of the wood and the trees. Sure. Yeah. Right. Like they had got all those trees from Lebanon. Yeah. And they had all like just wasted away to, like rot wood, you know?
Yeah. So I mean as it would after 14
years sitting out there just rotting. Right. Yeah. And so they were like, oh my God, God is punishing us. And it's like, no, oh my God, weather happened.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, this is not a punishment. It's just how things go.
Exactly. Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to read verse 1 of this stupid book, okay? In the second year of King Darius, you know, Darius the Great or whatever.
Sure.
Okay. On the first day of the 6th month, the word of the Lord came through the prophet Haggai to Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, governor of Judah, and to Joshua, son of Josedek, the high priest.
Okay.
This would have been around September, our time frame.
Got it.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that's when that was.
Okay.
Okay. So in September, they're like getting this word that, hey, maybe you guys need to go build. Okay? Yeah. And like if that happened in the United States, we would be like, but it's almost winter. Winter is coming. Like I don't.
It depends on what part of the country you're in.
That is true.
I'm just saying.
That is true. But generally in the U.S., we would be like, we don't build in winter.
Right. But Israel is going to be a little bit of a warmer climate than it is where we live personally.
Well, yes. So, you know. Obviously, that's why I said America. Like in the United States, we would be like, I don't want to build in September.
Okay.
You know?
But again, if you were in Florida, I feel like that wouldn't really be the case necessarily.
But you'd have to like go spend the next couple of years regathering materials.
Sure. Not wanting to work is one thing, but because it's September is another. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, I feel like when we move into verse 2, it's titled An Excuse for Not Rebuilding the Temple. And that would be my excuse.
Got it, yeah.
Okay? So despite the glorious beginning, after 2 years the work stopped, mired in discouragement and derailed by a lack of focus. When Haggai prophesied, the foundation of the temple was laid and the altar was rebuilt, but the temple wasn't done itself.
Okay.
So they had a place to go, kind of, if they like wanted to gather there.
Sure.
They were like,
it was like a half-assed version of
they were like, good enough.
Right.
We can do the Easter egg roll here. Wait, that's not how that works, is it? We don't do that. Yeah, no. Them damn Christians that come later, they do that.
Right.
Speaking of Easter eggs and the Easter egg roll, did you hear that for the first time ever in American history, the Easter egg roll on the White House lawn will take place with sponsors?
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Trump is selling sponsorships for the motherfucking
Where the
Easter
fuck
egg
is the
roll.
money? Where does that money go?
In his pocket. He's selling sponsorships personally.
You gotta be fucking kidding me.
It is against the law because emoluments clause. It's also despicable that he is selling Christianity tokens, basically.
Right.
Come sell your shit at the Christian egg thing that we do for kids for fun.
And not only that, but Easter is very not so much a. It's got some pagan roots.
Oh, it's only got pagan roots. It's literally on the calendar based around the eclipse and not the eclipse, but the fucking when the
moon cycles and stuff, or whatever.
It's the first full moon after the first Sunday that falls after the equinox.
Right. Well, they got Sunday in there.
But I mean, there's like, what the fuck? Like, that is some serious star tracking bullshit.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be doing that.
There's parts in the Bible that say don't track the stars.
Yeah.
Like it says don't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how we plan when Easter will fall.
Yeah.
The first Sunday after the first full moon after the equinox.
It's pretty bad when you have a holiday for a major religion that doesn't even follow its own book.
Right?
The fucking holiday doesn't follow its own book.
And that's when Jesus Christ was like born deaded. Dead. I get it mixed up. I have to stop and think.
Yeah.
No, Christmas is born and deaded is
I always
Easter.
got it confused too because it doesn't seem right.
No, it doesn't, because it's when he was raised back up. And that makes it makes better sense.
He was
because
reborn. Whatever.
Yeah.
Sure.
He was deaded and then relived. But yeah, it doesn't make sense because when you think about a person being born, you think about that being during the spring. And then you think, yeah, they totally died in the winter.
We should start a Jesus recycling center.
Oh, yeah. and it has to look like a cave.
Sure, yeah.
You know, with rocks and stuff.
Right, yeah. You could put your unwanted Christian necklaces in there. And then we could like recycle them.
And your palm fronds.
Yeah, and call it Jesus recycling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so anyway, the Jewish people were totally making excuses for not building the temple, saying that they were suffering a time of personal hardship and enemy opposition. Like I said, they were late tired.
Which is fucking always for them.
I mean, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. They claimed it was just not yet time to begin the work. They were like, now's not the time, guys.
Right.
We can't be doing this right now.
Sure.
It's always later. Later is good.
Yeah.
Later is good. Now is bad. That's a problem for future me, not present me. And by future me, I mean maybe my grandkids.
Look, I know they had reason. Like they put emphasis on what God's controlled in their lives, right? Mm-hmm. But as long as everything's going good, there wouldn't really be an impetus to do anything, right? Like, well, we're doing all right.
We're being rewarded, so we're doing something right.
Yeah.
Why would we change what we're doing?
We got our land back. We're just getting settled in, you know?
God clearly wants us to focus on the family.
Right.
Oh, no, that's Christians. They focus on the family.
Whatever. Doesn't matter.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's...
So let's read verse 2.
Okay.
This is what the Lord Almighty says.
Is it?
These people say the time has not yet come to rebuild the Lord's house. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the period thought that the 70 years spoken of by Jeremiah were not yet complete. Or I'm sorry, the people thought that the 70 years spoken of by Jeremiah were not yet completed, and thus that it would be useless to attempt to rebuild until that period had arrived. So that's another reason. They were like, no, we did the math. It's not 70 yet.
Interesting, because
we're like, no, it's totally 70.
The prophecy, though, was about them coming back to their land. Mm-hmm. So even they didn't know what the fucking prophecy meant.
They're like, we came back to our land, and that is great. But the prophecy is about when we rebuild. And those years are not mathed out yet. Yeah.
Interesting.
So they were like, it's not 70, you guys.
Got it.
That's when you build.
Right.
It said 70, and it's not 70.
That's interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they kind of had it right if we're being, real.
Right, yeah.
But from the commencement of the last siege of Jerusalem, about 69 years had actually been completed. And again, that gets into that whack math that I'm like, did it though?
You could have read it any number of ways.
Yeah.
And that's where we were saying creative math.
Creative math. So they were like, well, okay, we don't really feel like it. We're still rebuilding our houses. And to be fair, the math ain't mathin'. So and things are not too bad. So it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Okay. But then Haggai exposes their wrong priorities. Okay? He's like, y'all could build your houses for yourself, but not God, which is, that's what we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
In fact, they had taken much of the available timber and used it extravagantly in their own homes, according to Haggai.
So it wasn't so much dilapidated wood, it was used wood.
Yeah. Even though timber was in short supply and was needed for the temple. And it was in short supply because it came all the way from Lebanon.
Again, I have to ask, though, you have people that need housing.
Yeah.
I would be inclined, even as a god who needs a house, I'm a god,
I'll be fine. I'm magic.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No, y'all take care of yourselves first. And as a matter of fact, here's a little bit of sprinkle magic powder so that your wood stays good. Yeah, it does. And so that, you
it was the blue sprinkle powder.
Yeah.
Like, the blue pill. Yeah.
Oh, the blue. See, I was thinking, I'm the blue fairy. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to read verse 4.
Okay. Yeah.
Is it time for you yourselves to be living in your paneled houses while this house, waves expansively at the temple, remains a ruin, you motherfuckers?
Well, based on the storms we recently had, I'm going to say yes, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I know.
Because there's nobody fucking living in that house.
Right?
It's just a goddamn token.
It's a church, y'all. It's a they keep calling it a house of God and a temple and a blah, blah, blah.
They call churches that here. Like, churches are called houses of God here.
It's a fucking church. But it'll be okay. We'll get to it. Don't worry about it.
Every church is a house of God. God is so split in so many fucking different directions.
Right?
I don't think he could operate anymore.
I don't understand how in the same little town you can have like 20 different churches that are all houses of God. Like, what the fuck, God? Get your shit together.
Maybe that's what it is. How many McDonald's there are, right?
Mm-hmm. I do know how many McDonald's there are.
And it seems to me that over the years, service has gotten worse at McDonald's than it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's just because they're stretched so thin that they can't look at you when they give you your fries. And maybe the same thing has happened to God.
That's what it is.
He's like, here's your fucking prayer.
Okay. So
whatever.
we just need fewer McDonald's and fewer churches.
I'm good with that.
And then all the fries will be good. The customer service will be great. And thinking. God will get back to magicking all over us.
Yes.
I have problems with this. I don't think that is correct. All right. So if the time had not come to rebuild the temple, then the time likewise, Haggai reasoned, cannot have come for the people to build themselves comfortable houses. And I'm like, that's an opinion, though.
Well, and it depends, again, on how you read the fucking prophecy. Because, if people are saying that the prophecy reads that it's when you rebuild the temple, then it has nothing to do with when you rebuild your fucking houses, right?
Yeah.
But if it's when you repopulate the land, then we already missed the fucking time to build the temple by 14 fucking years.
Exactly.
So either way, we fucked up.
Either way, you're wrong, we're right. Let me just have my air conditioning lay off.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But again, he just comes in and he's like, I know all the things. And they're like, do you though?
Well, most of the fucking prophets have been really arrogant.
They're so fucking uppity.
Not 100%, but like a lot of them are very arrogant.
Yeah. They are so uppity. Like they act like they know everything.
Well, because God's literally, according to them, talking through them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All of them.
Yeah.
All of them.
Right.
So anyway, he's like, it's not time to build your fucking comfortable house. Yet they were, in fact, rebuilding their houses. So God was like, why aren't y'all rebuilding my house? The foundation of the temple had been laid 14 years before, and some considerable progress had been made, but it had been laying waste in that unfinished state to the present time.
Do you think that if I spoke to my boss and was like, God said to tell you that I can't come into work today, that would work?
I 100% think that would absolutely work in no timeline whatsoever.
Got it. God told me to give you a raise. God told me to tell you to give me a raise.
I would love that. God also, just while we're putting this out there, if this is, a thing that happens,
sure,
wants you to take a vacation with your wife in May, because that's when our anniversary.
Yes.
So God wants you to have a raise and to go on vacation in May to take your wife on vacation.
I feel like it's really convenient to be a prophet.
Oh, it is.
You get to just say, God said this, and that's what we're doing.
What's really funny is that they would come to you and they would look at you earnestly and they would place their hand on your shoulder and they would go, if you only knew, it's not easy. It's not, my son, let me tell you. And I would be like looking at their fucking Rolex and being like, get the fuck, go get back on your airplane that you privately own and fly the fuck away. You liar.
Yeah.
You liar.
It must be nice to have the ability to just walk around and preach at people.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I've got to take care of my goddamn crops, my kids, and everything else. So fuck off with your fucking word of God.
You picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille. 4 hungry children and a crop in the field. You picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille. When I was a kid, I always thought that song was saying 400 children instead of 4 hungry children.
I can't say anything. There's so many songs I misinterpreted when I was younger. And even still today, I don't always know the lyrics
I
exactly.
love hearing you sing songs because
I do sing them.
You're like me, and like we sing all the time, and we just sing at each other, and we're like, whatever, I don't give a fuck.
Sure.
And like probably a good, 65% of your lyrics are wrong.
Yeah.
Which is not saying anything about 65% of my lyrics are wrong too. I just looked them up.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
No, you're like, I still don't care.
No, it's more fun that way.
It is.
Yeah.
400 children. Yeah. All right. So moving on, Haggai's like, consider your ways and the result of your ways. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because of the selfishness of the people, God had punished them with poverty and famine.
Yeah.
I mean, we find that out after. Like,
right.
He's like, remember how you've been like having hunger and famine and poverty? And they're looking around going, oh, did we? We were busy building our nice fancy houses.
Right. Well, which was it? Was I poverty stricken and not, and not eating? Or was I laying around in my house, lazy and,
in my nice house.
In my nice house, my paneled house.
Yeah.
Which was it?
It was.
Because this is how every fucking religious fucking yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is Republican thinking. You're both lazy as fuck in your mansion that you are stealing from the people.
Yeah.
Or you're also a piece of shit, trash, garbage human.
And not doing anything.
And still not doing anything.
Right. Well, if you build a paneled house and you've got nice things, you obviously did something.
Right?
Just not the one thing that he wanted you to do.
I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Like, back in the day, like, okay, now if you're living in a house, clearly you, like, 99% likely did not build that shit yourself. Right? But back in the day, these Jewish people, if you were sitting in a house, it's 99% likely you did build it yourself.
Right, yeah.
You and your family, right?
Right.
So, like, you can't call that person lazy.
Right.
But he did.
You can.
But Haggai did.
Yeah.
He's like, you fuck.
I mean, I guess you could call it, they'll probably say spiritual laziness is what they would say.
Spiritual laziness. And it's like...
There's always a way to quantify what it is you're actually talking about if somebody calls you out on the bullshit that you're spewing.
If I was on the receiving end of that, I would be like, you don't know me. I have a very good personal relationship with God. As a matter of fact, he just told me last night, like, he came down and had dinner with me.
Yeah, I don't think I could keep myself from doing that. Like, I'd be like, oh, God told you something? Well, God told me something, motherfucker.
Like, let's go. Let's talk about... You know what? The only difference is that, your beard is longer than mine or some shit? So, like, people take your word over mine?
Yeah.
Like, is that the difference? Like,
no, I mean, I'm assuming they have to go through some sort of, like, prophets must go through some sort of, like, biblical training or something like that.
But sometimes God came to not prophets.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm one of those special little fucks that God came to that's not a prophet.
I especially loved it when he came to, like, the kings or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, that's convenient, isn't it, king person there?
Yeah. I liked it best when he came to a peasant. Because that did happen once or twice.
Right. I think, but more often than not, it's just a convenient way to relay a story. That's all.
No, it's a convenient way to say, the person in power wanted this to happen, so they said it was God.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, we all know that. And they're like, we know. That's why we didn't spell it out. We knew you knew that.
They didn't have Fox News. They had to use God.
Exactly. As they still do, even with Fox News.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's essentially all Fox News is. Just propaganda. And God is propaganda.
Yeah.
Like, that's all this is.
Yes.
And
Isn't it
continues
sad?
on today.
Over 2,000 years later, and still.
Yeah. It's essentially the exact same bullshit.
That is grotesque and sad for the human race. And I don't blame the aliens for, like, miss me with that human shit.
Yeah, that fucking cylinder, like, it just turned away. I was like, fuck this shit. We're out.
Yeah. Fuck this shit. Yeah. So, verse 5 reads, now this is what the Lord Almighty says. Give careful thought to your fucking ways. Okay. The Hebrew figure of speech for this phrase is literally put your heart on your roads.
Okay. Yeah.
So you do the right thing and live the life that you say that you're supposed to be living as a Jewish follower of God.
Yeah.
Walk that road and put your heart there.
I generally agree with that kind of sentiment.
But they're using it all wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, as most people, many people do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say most, but many people do.
Yeah. So verse 6 reads, you have planted much but harvested little. You eat but never have enough. You drink but never have your fill. You put on clothes but are not warm. You earn wages only to put them in a purse with holes in it. He's like, y'all never fucking satisfied. And you know why? Is because you play on Facebook too much. Y'all need to get off social media and build the fucking temple.
Right.
And they're like, dude, Twitter has not been invented yet. And God is like, oh my God, it's not even called Twitter anymore. I can't even with you. So their priorities were out of order is what Haggai is saying. Okay. So nothing could satisfy them.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden we go from, like, I'm building my paneled house. I'm a happy mouse. La, 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 la. Look at my happy house. And they're just, like, happy.
Yeah.
And then Haggai's like, no, you're not. And they're like, oh, I'm not? And Haggai's like, look at that temple that's not built. And they're like, yeah, I see. I know, but it's just the math ain't mathin'.
Right.
And Haggai's like, you're so not happy. And the people are like, no, I'm good though. Really, look, I'm happy. I'm singing in my paneled house. And Haggai's like, you're so unhappy. And he just keeps saying it over and over again. You're
starving. You're doing all these things that went wrong.
And the guy's like, I'm really good,
but I've got a paneled house. And,
I'm eating fine. Yeah. Everything's fine. And then like Haggai's like, but you're not. And then the guy's like, that's weird. Like, it's like Fox News, like the YouTube algorithm. Like, I keep getting these weird videos and my thoughts are changing. I thought I was happy, but suddenly I'm very angry and I'm cheering for Russia and Nazis. I don't understand how this happened.
What probably happened, he started talking to the people that were unhappy, and then they're like, yeah. And, you know, it's about talking to the right crowd,
no,
right?
I know.
And then you get that, once you get enough people to agree with you, the people that are living well and doing okay start having to agree with you also, because otherwise
they'll lose their pretty house.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know, but there are people that, like, the algorithm does get them. Whatever the algorithm of the day is.
Right.
Like, now it's an actual algorithm that actually brainwashes them. The more that they watch, the more that they see. Yeah. And the more that they, like, in the 80s were completely against Russia, and now they're like, I love Putin, Nazis are fine, everybody sick Heils, you know? And, like, I don't understand that, but okay.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
So anyway, Haggai's like, nothing can satisfy you. Each accomplishment soon revealed that there would be something more, something that really could satisfy. Okay. What do you think that is?
God?
God and the temple.
Right, yeah.
So here's what they got to do. You know what they got to do?
Build the fucking temple.
Build the fucking temple.
Build it and he will come.
Yeah. That's what I was saying, the whole book.
Right.
Yeah. Well, not the whole book of the Bible, the whole 2 chapters of the Book of Haggai. Yeah. So the people complain that they couldn't build the fucking temple. They're poor. And they're like, you just told me I'm poor, though.
But he also told them they were rich.
I'm poor now. Today
Right.
I'm poor.
Okay.
I was rich. I thought I was doing fine. I was happy till your ass came around.
Paneled houses.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I had AC, and now, like, I'm poor as shit. And so, rather, replied the prophet, they were poor because they would not build the temple.
Oh, so it's just
they're like,
again, the spiritual poorness. Yeah. That's what we're getting back to here.
They are selfish, thinking only of what they wanted, not what God wanted. Huh. Therefore, they had to go back to the forest and cut timber for the temple. You need to go back to fucking Lebanon and get more fucking trees, and then get your ass over here, and you need to put that lumber to use.
Lumber. Yeah.
I said limber.
You did.
I did.
That's not either one of those.
That is not
That's
correct.
something else entirely.
It is.
Yeah.
Limber is when you could do yoga real good. These people don't want to do yoga. Did you know there are Christians, like my parents, for example, who are like, no, we can't do yoga. That's another religion.
Right. No, I know.
And then,
it was a thing back when we were younger.
I know.
I didn't realize that till I was older.
Right.
But people were very put out by yoga.
My parents are very put out, but they started renaming the exercises and the breathing things, and they're like, well, we don't call it that now. We call it reaching for the Lord when you stretch up. And like they just renamed it, and I'm like, but you're still, and I like was trying to have this talk with my mom. I was like, but you're still doing the same things, and she's like, but it's with a different intention, and I'm like, but it's like saying, but it's still a fucking Christmas tree on a high place.
You know what? I'm sure there were people that were doing yoga that did the whole spiritual side of things.
There still are.
Yeah. But most people that I knew that did yoga, it was just for the exercise and for the
it's not even that. It's just the rich white bitches that like their yoga mats. That's all.
I'm sure that there are
and their Stanley mugs.
But some people did it for the exercise.
But a lot of them just like Stanley mugs and fitting in.
You're probably right.
Oh, I know I'm right. I absolutely 100% know I'm right. Because I've been to those classes and they all look exactly the same. Them girls do.
Okay.
And they're all the same age range. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So anyways, he's like, y'all need to build this fucking temple. Okay? I know, like, we're still going through this book and it's just build the temple, build the temple, build the temple.
Yeah.
Okay? So let's read some verses. Ready?
Yeah.
7, 8, and 9. Okay? This is what the Lord Almighty says. Give careful thought to your fucking ways. Go up to the goddamn mountains and bring down timber and build my fucking house so that I may take pleasure in it. Yeah. And be honored, says the Lord.
Okay.
Why do you need a house to take pleasure? Can't you just pleasure yourself up there in the clouds?
He likes people to watch.
He nasty. You expected much, but see, it turned out to be a little. What I brought home, I blew away. Why, declares the Lord Almighty? Because of my fucking house, which remains a fucking ruin, while each of you is busy with your own fucking houses. Okay?
Yeah.
So.
Petty. Like, again, petty.
Petty little bitch. Yeah. So he's like, go to Lebanon and get timber. So in the second year of the return from captivity, they had procured cedar trees from Lebanon and brought them to Joppa, and had hired masons and carpenters from the Tyrians and the Sidonians. But that labor had been nearly lost by the long suspensions of the building.
Got it.
So,
right.
Yeah, it's done. And all the carpenters were like, I'm sitting around, but I ain't doing much, so I'm out.
Yep.
You're not paying me.
Right.
And the sculptors, too, they're like, I got shit to be sculpting. I can't sit around here forever not sculpting.
Right.
Bye. Okay. So, verses 6 and 7 from Ezra chapter 3 reads, on the first day of the 7th month, they began to offer burnt offerings to the Lord, though the foundation of the Lord's temple had not been laid. Then they gave money to the masons and carpenters and gave food and drink and olive oil to the people of Sidon and Tyre, so that they would bring cedar logs by sea from Lebanon to Joppa, as authorized by Cyrus, king of Persia. I just thought it was like really interesting. I wanted to include that because like Ezra is happening like right before this, and they're directly referencing each other.
Well, and it's funny that this had to get authorized by Cyrus. Yeah. Right? Like that's a whole other element that they don't really talk about in Haggai.
Yeah.
But there was political machinations going on behind the scenes that maybe caused this to delay as well.
Exactly.
Right? It's not just necessarily that they were lazy
or
they had
rich
to get
or poor or whatever.
But they had to procure, transport for this shit. They had to do things to get this stuff done, and that takes political will.
Yeah, like Cyrus is like, yes, go forth and be free, my people that were held in captivity by me and mine. And I'm so happy to set you free now. And I think it's really fucking important that all of the people that I own, that they all have their own freedoms and rules and, practice their own religions and stuff.
Right.
So, yes, go build your fucking temple and stuff.
Right.
But what does that actually mean in practice?
And who's funding it? Because he's technically in charge. Because we even talked about it in this book that the ruler of Israel at this point was only considered a governor because he's not really in charge. Exactly. It's actually, still the Babylonians, right? And so these requests for material and stuff are going to have to go through that Babylonian government still.
And just because Cyrus is like, everybody be happy, doesn't mean that the people under him were.
Right.
Like, there may have been some people that were like, yeah, I'm not going to approve this.
Well, I have to question also the validity of calling yourselves back in your land if you're not really in charge of your land.
Right.
Right? Like, that's a question for me that I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that.
It's kind of like how Native Americans are, quote unquote, we put them on their own land in reservations and but what? That's not correct. That's what? No, we're not taking care of people at all correctly.
No, that's just shoving off a problem.
Yeah.
That's all that was.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, yay, we let people live and didn't take care of them and we're really shitty at them.
Some people live.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, after all of these Jewish people were like killed and stuff and put into captivity and moved here and moved there and sent asunder and all kinds of whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now they're like, you're free. And it's like, go home.
You're free-ish.
Ish. Right? That's why I was equating it like for today. Like, that's what it would be like saying. And isn't that exciting, you guys?
Right.
Like, I don't know. Let's ask some of the people and see how they feel about it.
I wouldn't be real keen. I wouldn't feel real keen to celebrate at that point. I wouldn't feel like I'd won anything other than the right to move where I wanted to move.
Within a 4-block radius, maybe. Like, who fucking knows? I don't know what it looked like. But I don't know. So the response to Haggai's prophecy was, like, actually really good.
Okay. Yeah.
So he encouraged the people to set about work, and on their doing so, Haggai promises them that God will be with them. He's like, cool. I'm so glad to see you guys doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So they must have got their permits.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
So Haggai's forthright preaching brought quick results.
Yeah.
The people realizing the truth of his accusations. Oh my God, I was being lazy and a whore. Oh my God. I hadn't thought about it that way. Thank you, Haggai and God.
But I like how it's put the truth of his accusations.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you're literally you're being an asshole to these people.
I know.
And they're like, yeah, I guess that's true. Like, you're making them feel like shit in order to get them to do what you want them to do.
And then you're like, and they saw that I was right.
But isn't that generally how people try? Like, a lot of people try to get people to do things by guilting them into doing it.
Yes.
And to me, that's never been a proper way to manage people.
No.
And if you're a god, I would think you would want to manage people in a more positive way.
I mean, any type of parenting, including God or an employer or a leadership, like any kind of authority position, if you do the 'cause I said so or 'cause you suck,
it's a cop-out.
It's not only a cop-out, the best results you're going to get are going to be half-ass and check the box.
Right.
If you want actual, like, enthusiastic sign-on,
you got to get people to buy in.
Yeah. And you don't get people to buy in by saying, you fucking suck, you son of a bitch, piece of shit.
Yeah, you get people hanging their head and going, all right. That's about it.
Like, how hard would you hit that hammer? How often would you be tapping that nail? Like, I would not be working my best and my hardest if it was only out of guilt.
You guys said I could be done at 5. I'm out.
I'm not a team player.
Not sticking around any longer.
Like, a team player is like, you understand my time off.
Right.
Like, no, let's all be team players would be cool, but no, I noticed the boss is the one always calling in.
Well, and I don't really get the sense
points.
throughout the Bible that we've read that there's been a lot of like buy-in by the people, right?
No.
Like they buy in when they have to and when they feel like it's advantageous for them. Mm-hmm. But overall, it's not been a huge like
they're because I said
we're
so.
We're feeling it type thing.
No, it's because I said so or else.
Right, yeah.
I'll get ya.
Yeah.
And boy, does he.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah. So in little more than 3 weeks, they had restarted work on the temple because they're like, you're right, I was a piece of shit. I'm going to work hard now. I'm real excited about this. So when they began to obey God and fear him, because never not be afraid.
You got to fear, yeah.
God promises to be with them, okay?
Yeah.
So the second word from God was about the glory of the new temple, okay?
Yeah.
So when this prophecy was uttered 4 years before the temple was finished and 68 years after the former one was destroyed, some old men were greatly dispirited due to its being so much inferior to that of Solomon. So there were some like really old dudes that are like, I mean, I'm old, so I really don't feel like working anymore. Like, take this hammer from my hands, please, before I, like, accidentally drop it on my toe and break my foot.
Right.
But also, like, I hate to tell you, but this shit is ugly. I've seen it. It looked so good, and this is nothing.
Right.
Back in the good old days. You know, to raise their spirits and encourage them to proceed with the work, those old bucks.
Yeah.
The prophet assures them, I promise you, the glory of the second temple will be greater than that of the first.
And as I recall, it was because God will be in the temple, but wasn't God in the last temple as well?
Yes, but that wasn't the glory part because Solomon had been building that. Yes, to glory God, but also because he wanted the glory for himself as well.
Got it.
So it just depends on how you phrase it, honestly.
But that's not how it's pitched,
right?
In the Bible.
In the Bible.
So,
well, you know what they say if you're Christian.
What's that?
This temple's going to be fucking glorious shit because Christ will be in it.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Some people interpret this as
this temple's going to be awesome. It could be a fucking shoebox, but Christ will be in it.
Got it.
It's going to glow.
Yeah.
Okay?
I forgot this one had different significance to Christians.
Yeah, it just depends who you ask.
Right.
I call it a lie all the way through and through, but, you know.
Yes.
I'm just a heathen. What the fuck do I know? So, although the foundation of the temple had been laid 16 years earlier, it had been damaged during years of neglect, which we've said more than once now. More work was necessary before construction could even begin on the building itself. After the people had been at work for a month, they could see enough of the rebuilt foundation to gauge the size of the proposed temple. Some of the very old people remembering Solomon's temple complained that this new one was not very impressive by comparison. They're like, mine was bigger. Yeah. Haggai saw this would discourage the builders, so he brought them a message of encouragement. He's like, come on, it's going to be great. Yeah. And they're like, well, no, it won't.
Yeah.
But then he's like, I will suck you off. And they were like,
Jesus Christ.
I guess. So on the 21st day of the 7th month, the word of the Lord came through the prophet Haggai. And just an FYI, this message was in October of 520 BCE.
Okay.
It was the feast time in Israel, celebrating both the Day of Atonement and the Feast of Tabernacles.
Got it.
So this is just like a huge party.
Yeah.
When he's like, dudes, my dudes, come on. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And they're like, it is a party. Mm-hmm. It is a good party. We have so many festivals.
Right.
And he's like, I know, right? Just imagine like more festivals but in a temple. And they're like, but it's a shitty temple.
Right.
And he's like, but God though. Okay. So he's like, carry on the work in strength and assurance. Okay. So, we're in chapter 2 now, okay? Verses 3 and 4 read, who of you is left who saw this house in its former glory? And like 5 guys raise their hand and they're like, me, right? And then so Haggai's like, how does it look to you now? Does it not seem to you like nothing? And I don't understand that, but whatever.
Okay.
So now God is like, but now be strong, Zerubbabel. Be strong, Joshua, son of Jozadak, the high priest. Be strong, all you people of the land, and work, for I am with you. And that's what God declared. Okay, just be strong, just all
keep
y'all.
Working.
Keep working.
Fuck care. I don't care how shitty it looks. You just keep building.
Be strong.
Right.
Be strong.
God said so.
Be strong.
Not
God.
Haggai.
I'm God. I'm God, and I say be strong.
Not the prophet.
No.
God said that.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, I can buy into this. I don't understand how or why, but yeah, that happened. So the foundation of the present house had been laid about 53 years after the destruction of the temple built by Solomon. And though this prophecy was uttered 15 years after the foundation of the second temple, yet there might still survive some of those who had seen the temple of Solomon, right?
Okay. Yeah.
That's what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Most certainly the Jewish people at this time had neither men nor means to make any such splendid building as that erected by Solomon. I said the word erect, and that will never not be funny. The present was nothing compared with the former. So, old people were like, this sucks.
Yeah.
But God was like, don't let this discourage you. Just work. Just be strong. The chief glory of the temple is not in its splendid building, but in God's presence.
Got it.
Okay?
Yeah.
So Haggai passed on God's assurance that he was with them, just as he had been with their ancestors when he had brought them out of Egypt. Remember
Yeah,
Egypt?
I remember. Yeah, he likes to bring that one up.
Remember how I brought you out of Egypt?
I have to question this, though. If it's more about the presence of God, why did we have to read, chapters and chapters worth of building stuff about a fucking tent?
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus Christ. The tabernacle chapters were awful.
Painful.
Yeah.
All those measurements and the exact decorations on what side of this, that, and the other. And now you're like...
Yeah, now you're like,
it doesn't fucking matter. I don't even care. Just build this shoebox. It'll be fine.
Right.
Wait. We could have had a shoebox all this time because you didn't care?
Right.
I mean, I was fine with the fucking shoebox.
Why did they need something meticulously built and we need, it doesn't matter?
Yeah,
why doesn't it matter now?
I feel like that's a good question.
I feel like they would have had less back then than they did now.
Right?
And they did it in a tent. They built this fucking... they brought... Do you remember how meticulous the throne was?
Yeah.
It was insane.
And it had,
And this was in a goddamn tent.
Yeah.
And we spent so much time reading about how they built this thing.
Leviticus,
and now they're like, just throw this shit together. I'll fill it and it'll be great.
Yeah, I'm glorious. What?
I'm like, that's it. We're done.
Hold on. I'm just saying be consistent.
Right.
If you thought I had to have glory then you have to have glory now. Right?
Right.
If it never mattered, then why...
Then the book is inconsistent.
Yeah.
At that point, because you are not holding true to what you claimed was important then versus now. Or can we have a discussion about it and you explain to me? Maybe you do have a good reason. Maybe you're like, okay, so here's the psychology. Those people needed this because X, Y, Z, and you're in a different place now and you don't. But and that's what a Christian apologist would say.
Talk about it.
That's what a Christian apologist would say.
And that's fine that they make that shit up, but that's not what the book says. I wouldn't mind it if they had actually addressed it in the first fucking place.
We're talking about God's word, right? So this is God's word, and God's word should explain why this is different than, why do we not care now what we did then?
Not with a Christian apologist making up answers for God. Right. You don't know. God did not talk to you, sweetheart. You are not a fucking prophet. I guarantee you. Okay?
It might.
I promise you're not a prophet.
Some of them claim to be.
I know that you claim to be a prophet. I promise you're not.
Right.
You are not a prophet.
Yeah.
None of you. Not a single human being on this planet is a fucking prophet. Are you telling me that
God's not speaking through people when they speak in tongues?
Yeah, that is what I'm telling you.
That's not what they tell me.
Well, they're liars.
Although I can't really tell what they're telling me when they tell me.
They're either liars and really, really shitty, evil people lying, or sadly, they are mentally incapacitated and need help because they believe it.
Possibly. Maybe you need the special underwear to understand the talk and the what is it called when they speak in tongues? They just got them mixed up. The underwear's over there with the Mormons, and then the speaking in tongues is over here with I don't even know what group it is that does that, but
the tongue speaking, the parcel tongues.
So, but if you bring them together, maybe if you had the underwear and the speaking in tongues, you could understand the speaking in tongues, right?
Look, all I'm saying is none of you is prophets. I don't care. I don't care what you claim. Not one of at me, bro. At me.
Yeah, right.
If you are a prophet and you really think that is true, let's talk about it, because I'm here to tell you, no, you ain't.
Right.
All right. So you're not a prophet.
Right.
Anyways.
Yeah.
So the foundation had been laid, and God's like, don't worry about it. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm great. I'm awesome.
Okay.
Shoeboxes are great. It's always been the case.
This time. Sure.
It's always been the case. and they're like, I believe you, because people are foolish.
Just like when we stop needing sacrifices because, all of a sudden they don't matter, and it's just about how you feel about everything.
Yeah.
But then, also we did at some point need sacrifice. There was very specific details on how to do those sacrifices.
Yes.
In other parts of the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on which part of the Bible you're reading,
And the day.
And yeah, sure.
Sometimes the day.
Right. And according to Christians, none of it really matters unless it does.
Yeah.
It all makes perfect sense, right?
Except it doesn't.
Right.
Not a single goddamn word of it.
Not even a little bit.
Except for maybe the let's not be dicks. Let's not steal from each other. Let's not...
but I don't feel like that gets promoted as much as it should.
No, it really doesn't.
Yeah.
And the let's not murder people.
Also not a great... not shown as much as I would like.
No. I'm not sure which... commandment it is, but surely there's one that covers let's not send people to Venezuela who have not gone through the courts to determine if that's where they ought to be sent.
Without due cause, yeah.
Due cause.
Due process.
Due process. That's what I was looking for. Yeah. I don't know that is in the commandments or... what would cover that, but I do know it's definitely part of our court system in America.
Yeah.
And religious nuts fucking love the Constitution.
They say that, but
oh no, I'm believing them. I think that they just miss that page. Again,
it's a lot like the Bible. They like the parts that they like.
They
don't like the parts that they don't like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when it's convenient, they'll change the rules a little bit because, why not? It's a matter of how they feel about it, not what it actually says or, intends.
Have you been hearing about the whole Trump wants a third and there's...
Yeah.
And they're also coming up with ways that he could maybe get around that.
I hear you. I do.
It's not voting him in a third time.
No, I know.
Various other things happen.
Right.
And then he just steps in. And I'm like, my guy is in his 80s at that point, and y'all are really trying to do this? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And
we'll
why
see.
Him?
We'll see if he's even remotely coherent in another 3 years.
Whatever. Yeah. His health is not good. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
I'm pretty sure a good strong wind and knock that fuck over. Okay. So through the temple, God was reconstructing the religious center of the Jewish nation.
Okay.
That's what God was doing.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Israel's temple would receive greater splendor than the discouraged workmen imagined. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Because you can look at a building and think that it's ugly and stupid, but you're wrong sometimes.
Sure.
Because God says.
I guess.
Or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
Maybe he was going to plug in a nightlight and then they would be like, it closed. I don't know. God would direct rulers of other nations to bring silver and gold to beautify it. Isn't that fun?
To beautify. Okay.
Because God loves gold and silver, remember?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Not always. Sometimes he doesn't like it.
No, but this time he does.
Yeah.
It's going to be so
And we're
pretty.
not even in the contradictions episode yet.
I know, right? However, far greater glory would come from the many nations who would join with Israel in the true temple.
Okay.
The temporary hardships of the Jewish builders would appear as nothing compared with the splendor of that day.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, then Haggai, he shows the people that the oblations brought by their priests could not sanctify them while they were unclean by their neglect of the temple. And to convince them that the difficult times they had experienced during that neglect proceeded from this cause. So he promises fruitful seasons from that day forward. That was the bit where he was like, yo, if you have a good apple sitting next to another good apple, does the one good get on the other good? Right. And they were like, no, that's stupid. Yeah. And then he was like, but if you got a sick kid and you put him next to a healthy kid, right, that sick kid could get the healthy kid sick though, right? And they were like, yeah. He's like, see, just because you're good doesn't mean it gets on other people, but bad always spreads. Evil spreads. And I'm like, you know what? I do kind of agree with you on this one. But also no, because good does spread. That's why we do good.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like that whole smile at each other campaign. It's harder
work, and that's why it's not what people expect always, you know?
Yeah. Well, but it's like the whole impetus behind the random acts of kindness that Christians love. The pay it forward that Christians love. The buy the McDonald's for the guy in line behind you that Christians love.
Right, but even that kind of stuff has been like almost lip serviced.
Oh, yeah,
like
definitely.
it's not really as meaningful as it could be because
they do it for the gram.
Right, yeah.
And then they share that they did it for the gram.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, you guys, I don't ever share this except always. But I was so nice to somebody and God is so good because then that person was happy at me.
Right.
I changed their life.
I personally like to operate in just lots of many little unseen niceties. Like just random things that you
that's what
might
a random
help
act
with.
Of kindness is.
Yeah, but I mean, like nothing that I would ever seek validation for.
Well,
you know?
I just like to call it don't be a dick and just be nice to people on the regular.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to like get extra validation points from social media or... I'm not saying like there's times when I'm like, oh my God, babe, guess what happened to me today? Right. But I'm not like sharing it on social media. I'm just like telling you this happened to me today.
Yeah.
The end.
Right.
Like that's a thing that happened.
I think the validation comes in the reciprocal behavior you get from people that witnessing you do nice things for people.
But don't do it because they're watching.
Don't do it. No, right.
Just don't be a dick and always be nice.
Yeah.
How about that?
I like the idea. I don't like the implementation.
Yes.
How's that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, I don't know. Wheaton's Law always comes to my mouth.
Which is don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Right.
And it just fits so many different times and ways.
Yeah.
So, okay. He's got a question for the priest, though.
Okay.
At the end of 3 months, all the foundation work was finished. Okay?
Yeah.
So they laid the foundation. Zechariah had successfully urged the people to repent, and now Haggai emphasized again that spiritual cleansing was the only way by which they could enjoy God's blessings.
Okay.
You got to be good with God. You got to get Jesus in your heart pre-Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Haggai reminded the people that their wrong attitudes in the past had been all the cause of all their troubles. Don't forget to build this shit. Don't forget to always be scared. Don't forget to never not fear God.
Make sure you get the OxyClean for the soul.
Don't forget that you suck and you're a piece of shit.
Right.
And you need God. Yeah. Don't forget. And also... I will hold that gold for you. And also, we're going to go back to sacrificing.
That's what Joel Osteen says.
Yeah, right? I will be needing your greatest fatted calf. Mm-hmm. I mean, for God.
Right, obviously.
I'm going to hold it for you.
Obviously.
Because I'm a prophet.
Yeah.
I'm a fucking prophet, too. Did you know it, husband?
Does that mean we get private jets and shit?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
For sure, for sure.
Cool.
As long as we're all lying, right?
Then, yeah.
Wink and a nod, wink and a nod.
Guys, tell everybody that we're prophets and maybe we'll like, blow up.
You know what? Blow up. I don't
Not in the bad way.
I don't
in the good way.
But you know what? I don't need a fucking Rolex. I don't need my own fucking plane. You know what I would like?
What's that?
I would like for the fridge to not make that funky ass noise that sounds like fucking woolly mammoth herd dying in my kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah, one day we'll get that rectified.
Yeah, it's not good, you guys. That fridge is about to die, I think.
Yeah.
Anyways, that would be cool, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's all. I don't need
We don't
fancy
need a lot.
shit.
Just, you know, basics.
Yeah. So anyways, Haggai's like, don't forget that all your troubles are because you suck.
Right.
You had it coming if you had troubles. So he gives an illustration to show that contact with unclean things make a person unclean, but contact with holy things do not necessarily make a person holy. Bad spreads, but good stays put.
Yeah.
As long as they had neglected the temple and let it lie as a ruined, dead thing in their midst, they had been unclean and therefore unacceptable to God. He was like, no matter what good you do, it doesn't fucking matter because you weren't building the temple. So nanny boo boo, stick your head in doo doo. You were going to go to hell unless you were building this temple. Except that hell had not really been invented at this point. So they didn't believe in going to hell so much.
Sure.
But still, he was like, but you do suck though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no matter how much it brought them in contact with holy things, just because you are acting holy doesn't mean that you are.
Right.
And they're like, I don't know. I kind of feel like it does, though. So verse 14 reads in chapter 2, Then Haggai said, So it is with people and this nation in my sight, declares the Lord.
Okay.
Whatever they do and whatever they offer there is defiled. So he's like, y'all showing up to this half-built temple trying to act like y'all holy and shit, but you're not.
Got it.
Because you still suck.
Yeah.
And they're like, I never do anything right. Oh, my God.
But, like, is it really the fault of all the people that are showing up? Or is it, like, the fault of the people that are in charge of trying to get it built, right?
I don't know.
And at that point, like, I feel this is where I hate how they describe how God punishes people.
Mm-hmm.
Because
it's
I'm
so,
like, it's
like,
not...
across the board. It's not personal.
Yeah.
Your God is so big and can see every single person, but he punishes across the board.
Right.
Because he can't.
Except for that he can see the kings and he can see the prophets. So he sees some people, apparently.
Well, the truth is that there is no God.
No, I know.
Right.
But I mean, I'm just saying, like, you're being very disingenuous when you say that it's everybody's fault.
It's not person.
Everybody. We all live in a society where we know that it's never everybody's fault.
Right.
Like, we didn't fucking elect Trump. Mm-hmm. And yet...
And yet,
look what the world has to fucking deal with.
No, what's really, really gross is like I have extended my media intake to include news sources from other countries, and it breaks my fucking heart every time they're like, America does this and America says that, and I'm like, not all Americans. And then like I finally understand what it's like to be, you know, a man who's like, not all men. Like, oh, that's what they meant. Because I'm like, I don't want to be lumped in with the Republicans. But
then we can look at it objectively and be like, yeah, we kind of suck.
No, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And like when we see Canada, you know, like, fuck you. I'm like, I mean, not me personally, but like, yeah. I feel
we deserve
you.
That.
Yeah. we, America, have that coming.
Yeah.
And also, from the bottom of my heart, I'm so sorry, Canada.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
Like,
yeah. I want to offer my sincere apology as well, because I spent a lot of time in Canada as a kid, and I love Canada.
I know. I have cousins up there, you know. I got family in Canada, so
this is a specific shout out to Owen Sound up in Ontario, because I spent a lot of time there when I was younger, and I love and miss and want to go back to that town.
Yeah.
Never more so than recently.
Yeah, it's so embarrassing. Like, I listen to news sources from Canada, obviously, and then New Zealand, Ireland, the UK, and there's another one I always forget. Like, I can only ever name a few of them, and I forget what the other one is.
Yeah.
And they're all like, boo, America. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm sorry. All of you English-speaking countries. I mean, the other ones too, but particularly the English-speaking countries that are hearing my voice and that, like, Trump is coming at you.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I'm embarrassed. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we know it's not everybody. Okay?
Right.
We know.
Yeah.
And Haggai's like, but God doesn't know.
Right, but that's just it, though. Like, we've talked about God being this all-powerful being that has the ability to do anything except apparently know who the fuck is bad.
Yeah.
And in charge.
Yeah.
And able to make things happen.
But even at that, he's like, to the 7th generation, fuck you and your children. Like, what? That doesn't make sense.
Right.
Like, okay, God, you need to chillax and calm your tits.
Right.
All right. So verse 14 in, chapter 2 reads, Then Haggai said, so it is with these people and this nation in my sight. Whatever they do and whatever they offer there is defiled. Mm-hmm. So Haggai questioned the priests about the transmission. Oh, I think I already just read that. The priests answered correctly according to the law of Moses, that just as a sick child cannot catch health from contacting a healthy child, while the healthy child can become sick, holiness is not contagious, but impurity is.
Yeah.
And since their exile to Babylon, the people of Israel focused on getting back to the promised land. That's all they wanted.
Yeah.
That's all they wanted.
But I get that. Like, if you are in a different land than what what your heritage is from, I can understand the want to go back to that land.
Well, yeah. So by itself, this was not a bad objective. But according to Haggai, he's saying, yet it led to the thinking that once they make it back to the promised land, everything else will be good. I'll be happy when fill in the blank.
But I can't blame them.
No,
when you have a goal and you accomplish that goal, your thoughts are, man, look what we just did. We're back. And
he's like, nope, stop.
Right.
No celebrating
nothing's
for
ever
you.
Good enough.
No.
It's fucking corporate America.
Never be satisfied, ever. Always be busy. Always hustle. Always be, moving up the corporate ladder. Always be busy.
Yeah.
Productive.
You can't ever get kudos for accomplishing something.
No.
Just on to the next task.
Haggai reminded them that their presence in the promised land does not mean that they're holy. Yeah. He's like, oh, no, but you still suck, though.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I know.
This is where I'd pull out the books and I'd be like, dude, we have sucked throughout the entire
We've never
Bible.
Not sucked.
Like, there's never been, it's all suck.
Like,
we've sucked the entire, fucking Uzzah, man.
Yeah. Yeah, justice for Uzzah.
Yeah, right. Like
you're not telling us anything we don't already know. So honestly, shut the fuck up is what I would like to tell him.
Yeah.
Haggai, you're a real downer. So God sees their change of heart, though, and promises a harvest of blessings to come.
Okay. Yeah.
The people's selfishness and disobedience have brought God's judgment upon them in damage to their crops and a shortage of food.
Yeah.
Okay. Now they had turned from their selfish ways and obeyed God, so things would change.
Built his house.
They built his house.
That's the only difference here.
Yeah.
Nothing else changed.
No.
The prophet is telling us that God is happy now that God's house, prophet, got built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, you're great now. Thanks. Okay. Goodbye. Go home.
Right, yeah.
But don't forget to come on Sunday and bring me all that good shit.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's so fucking obvious what all this is. Yeah. And it is throughout the Bible if you read it the way that we read it. Like, I know that you will never go to a church and hear this read the way that we interpret this. But when you think of it in terms of these people are in charge of the power that God holds in these communities, right? That means that what they say is beyond meaningful. It holds so much sway that they can manipulate entire swaths of people to do their bidding and their will.
For thousands of years, even unto America 2025, across the globe.
Yes.
2,000 plus years later.
Right.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
That's why this is important to read.
Yeah.
And it's why it's important to break it down in a way that allows us to see the manipulation that was happening.
Yes.
And the bullshit that's in here.
Because that lets us see what's happening today.
I really want, we've said this before, I really want to be at a point where I can appreciate the historicity of the Bible and appreciate it in a sense that it is a snapshot of a culture from thousands of years ago.
Right, just like we do with the Greeks and the Romans.
But you and I will never see that day.
No, and that does break my heart because I do love sociology and history and literature.
Yeah. And you know me, I love history. I love history, but I can't appreciate this
No.
Because of what it still represents.
2,000 plus years later, we're still reading it the exact same way and have not learned a goddamn thing. That is tragic and just speaks so ill of the human race. Anyway, the people's selfishness, blah, 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 blah. So God is very excited, and he's going to reverse the unfavorable agricultural conditions and give them fruitful crops again. Mm-hmm. It's like, you're going to grow such great pineapples here now. You can't grow pineapples there.
I mean, maybe you can. I don't know, but
I don't think pineapples grow good there.
I don't know.
I mean,
I didn't study about pineapple growth in Israel, so
I don't think pineapples can grow there.
Yeah.
His promise would begin to come true from that very day.
Ooh, wow. Just so,
what did we go?
Was there like crops that literally, like, you remember how that plant grew overnight and that one guy gave him shade and stuff? Did these crops like grow up overnight?
Jonah.
Yeah, that's the one. Did the crops grow up overnight and like suddenly they just had crops and stuff?
Suddenly I see. yeah. For on that day, mm-hmm. by completing the foundations of the temple,
of course,
they had been given visible proof that their obedience was genuine.
I really want to know what that visible proof was, but okay,
I know.
I guess we'll just accept it at face value.
That's the only thing you can do because God is a lie. All right, so we're getting towards the end here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
These are the last couple verses, and this is the part where we start getting into how the Jewish people see this versus how the Christians see this, okay? So the final word from God is this. Ready? God rules. The concluding verses contain a prediction of some temporal revolutions then near, such as the commotions of Babylon in the reign of Darius, the Macedonian conquests in Persia, and the wars between the successors of Alexander, mm-hmm. as well as the victories of the Romans who, in the time of Haggai and Zechariah, were on the very eve of their successful career.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, later the same day that Haggai delivered that message, he delivered another encouraging message.
It's a busy day.
Yeah. I mean, he gave 4 different prophecies, 2 of them on the same day.
Got it.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
This time to Zerubbabel, the governor. And this is the one that matters. Okay?
Yeah.
Zerubbabel was a descendant of David in the line of kings who reigned in Jerusalem.
According to the Bible.
Yeah. And he was entitled to the throne of Israel. But because Israel was still under Persian rule, he was allowed to be only governor. He could not be king.
Right.
Okay? So verse 22 says, I will overturn royal thrones and shatter the power of the foreign kingdoms. I will overthrow chariots and their drivers. Horses and their riders will fall, each by the sword of his brother. So basically, it was easy for the returning exiles to feel insignificant in the world as if they were just pawns or spectators.
Sure.
But God wanted them to know that though they were small in the eyes of the superpowers of the world, you know, since everything that they did still had to go through Babylonian leaders, that they were servants of the God of all power.
Okay. All right.
They're on the winning side. That's what God wants them to know.
Yeah. It's just that they didn't do a lot of winning.
They have not this whole fucking book.
Yeah.
No. So Haggai's messages from God were a mixture of rebuke and encouragement. He's like, build a house, you fucks. You're so fucking poor and lazy. You're awesome. God loves you. Oh my God, this is great. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And now we're at the final verse. This is the big one. Okay. So this is the promise to Zerubbabel. This is where we were headed this whole time.
Yeah.
So despite these restrictions, Haggai encouraged Zerubbabel, the restrictions being, you can be the ruler here, but not the king.
Mm-hmm.
You're in charge, but not really.
Yeah.
He encouraged Zerubbabel with the assurance that he was still God's specially chosen representative.
Oh, that's nice.
He's still God's special boy.
That's nice. Okay? Yeah.
Through him, God would not only reestablish the nation Israel, but would overthrow all nations and establish God's worldwide kingdom.
Through him, huh?
Through him.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Verse 23 reads, on that day.
That day. Yep.
Declares the Lord Almighty. I will take you, my servant Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, and I will make you like my signet ring, for I have chosen you, declares the Lord Almighty. we had a little chat about what the fuck a signet ring, and he's making you a ring and he chooses you. What?
Right.
Like Pokemon, I choose you. Okay. So the signet ring was a token of royal authority, much like a throne, a crown, or a scepter.
Right.
So that's what the signet ring is. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, recall that God had placed a curse on the seed of Jeconiah way back in Jeremiah chapter 22.
Okay.
That line was the royal line of David.
Right.
So if the Messiah was to be eligible for the throne of David, he had to be of the legal line of David, but not of his seed.
Okay.
So he's got to like be a distant relative of David, but the curse is on David, so it can't be like David's great-grandchild.
Right, because we talked about this because it literally says in the Bible that the line of David ends.
Yeah. So he's not part of the specific straight down.
He's like a second cousin once removed or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Jeconiah was the last legitimate king of Judah, and the royal house of David goes through him. His only successor was Zedekiah, and that's the book that we're going to be reading next.
Okay.
His uncle, who was appointed not by right, but by an occupying Babylonian ruler. Even at the end of his life, the Babylonians recognized Jeconiah as the legitimate king of Judah. Okay. Now, because Zerubbabel was a descendant of the last legitimate king of Judah, he could be legitimately recognized as the ruler, though not the king of the returning exiles.
Okay.
So every decision that he made still had to go through Babylon, because he's their governor, not their king. Zerubbabel did not live to see the fulfillment of Haggai's words, but the promise passed on to one of his descendants, according to the Christians.
Yeah.
Do you know who that guy is?
Jesus.
In whom the prophecy will find its fullest meaning. Anyways, that's trash. So let's read from a Jewish perspective what this means.
Yeah.
Because that's what I specifically wanted to know.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
Like where we ended when we were reading this was, and that's what the Christians think. The end.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So from a Jewish perspective, okay?
Yeah.
First of all, let's start with my servant Zerubbabel. This language echoes how God refers to David in other prophetic books, like my servant David, for example. Okay. It emphasizes Zerubbabel's Davidic lineage, reinforcing continuity of the covenant despite the exile and absence of a Davidic king on the throne. Okay. So he's like using the language he would if we're to pretend that this guy descended through one of David's bros or some shit like that. I don't know.
Right.
Okay, next point. Make you as a signet. A signet ring represents authority, ownership, and favor. In ancient times, kings used signet rings to seal decrees. This implies that God is restoring divine authority and favor to Zerubbabel. Okay?
Yeah.
So first of all, he's saying, I'm restoring this to you that I took away. And that's one way to read it.
I gotta just say this real quick because I don't really feel like there's so much that hinges on King David, and I don't really feel like he deserves as much like power. Like he's so significant to the Bible,
right?
And he wasn't exactly the best person on the planet. Like I'm not saying he wasn't like the worst one we've read about.
No, by far.
But like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why this guy?
Why this
David?
guy? I agree.
Like,
I think that summarizes.
Samuel had the good hair, Like,
right?
Why not him?
Or Solomon, who like built the whole fucking temple and had the bath.
He was wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't get it. Like, why David?
I don't know. Why David?
Isn't he the one? He's the one that danced naked through the streets and had like 1,000 wives and like started like worshiping other idols and shit at the end.
I don't remember.
It got like real bad real quick or something. Wasn't that the one?
I don't remember his ending, but I do remember that he was swinging his ding dong around, dancing in the street, and his wife was not happy.
One of his wives, because he had multiple at that point.
Did he? I don't remember. I just remember the one was like, "This is not okay."
Yeah, no, that was Micah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
sure. That sounds right.
Michael was something like that. It was Michael, or Mike. We called her Michael, I think, but probably whatever. It was a while back, but I know.
It's too long ago. Fuck David anyways.
Right, yeah.
All right, so
Lots
he's
of other
like,
people did.
yeah. Apparently, that's how he could have so many distant
right?
lineages.
Yeah,
or
he made sure.
Okay, so God is like restoring power or whatever through Zerubbabel. Okay. But this whole signet thing, I will make as you a signet.
Yeah.
This also alludes to Jeremiah chapter 22, verse 24, which I'm going to read now because it matters. Okay. As surely as I live, declares the Lord, even if you, Joachim, son of Joachim, king of Judah, were a signet ring on my right hand, I would still pull you the fuck off. Yeah.
Wow.
He's like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I don't like you so much that even if you were a signet ring on my right hand, I would pull you off. And now he's saying to this Zerubbabel guy, who's not even a king, really, I will make of you a signet ring and wear you.
So obviously it denotes a very important role to God. That hypothetically God recognizes as authority over his people as a ruler.
Yes. And it was very wise, I think, of Haggai to utter these words. I think. He's like, this new thing is going to be so great. And
well, they had to sell it.
Yeah, I can't get the people excited to build it. I can't get the people afeared to build it. I can't get them buy-in. What if, hear me out, Zerubbabel, hear me out. What if, just follow me, what if I say,
you're from the line of David.
You're from the line of David.
Right.
And, Zerubbabel's like, that's not going to work, bro. Did you read it? And he's like, hang on, listen.
I got a fix for this.
Yeah. And I just think it was so fucking wise.
Yeah.
I mean, especially now that, like, I hear this whole, and this is the words we're going to use. This is how we're going to do this.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
So where God says, even if Joachim, Zerubbabel's grandfather, were a signet, he would remove him.
Yeah.
This is a reversal of that judgment and a renewal of divine trust in the Davidic line. Okay?
Okay.
It's beautiful in a way. Like, if this was just, like, literature and, like, funsies history, it would be kind of like, wow, that's kind of cool. But it's so political. I guess. Right? It's so politically motivated and
it
gross.
Really is, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, the third point.
Because God only gets involved in the kingly lines.
Yes.
Sporadically and when it's convenient.
Always.
So I don't really take a lot of stock in how this panned out because there were so many shitty kings.
Yeah.
That I'm like, dude, if you were really in charge, this wouldn't. No, I don't believe this. This doesn't.
No. I'm saying from a historical, political, and literary perspective, this is so cool.
Sure.
This math is mathin'.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This was smart.
Yeah.
I can get behind this move.
It's a good move.
Yeah. This was like, let's invent a new chess move and let's call it, I don't know, en passant. Or what the fuck ever. What is that chess move that
en passant.
Oh, did I say it kind of right?
You were kind of right, yeah.
Wow. And so he's like, okay, but how does that chess move work? And then he explains it. And then Zerubbabel's like, that's not even a chess move. That's so stupid. That doesn't even make sense. And Haggai's like, you just have to believe.
Right.
You just have to pretend to believe.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even matter if you believe. You just have to make them believe that you can make this fucking pawn do this fucking magic move that makes no goddamn sense.
And that is all of history.
Yeah. It's en passant. Say it again.
En passant.
En passant.
Yes.
That is the fucking stupidest chess move on the planet. I don't even know chess. And you showed me that move and I was like, okay, I never want to learn this stupid game. That move, when you can't even learn a game because suddenly like some random dumbass move that makes no fucking sense comes out.
Jesus.
Yeah. Okay.
Guys, if you listened the entire way through our podcast, you know I love chess.
Yes, you do.
In fact, I had a Sacrilegious Discourse chess account for a while where I played people And that was a thing for a bit.
Yeah.
I haven't done that in a while, but
you should probably pull that back out because there were some people playing with it. It was, you had a fun time with that.
I did, but time.
Time, and there was one person that kept beating you.
I was happy to be beaten.
All right, so let's move on to the last point here. Ready?
Yep.
I have chosen you. Pikachu, I choose you! Okay?
Yeah.
This echoes God's language when appointing leaders like Moses or David. Let's not forget, this is not from a Christian perspective, okay? This is from a Jewish perspective. I got these from Jewish sources because I was like, this Christian, and that's the way it is. The end.
Sure.
That cannot hold.
Well, no, and I think even if you get into it, the prophecies do still indicate for Judaism that the Messiah will come from the Davidic line.
Yes.
So that's still a thing that is believed.
Yeah. Yes. And so this just it really matters. This last verse really matters. If we're reading the Bible to understand the Jewish history behind Christianity, this verse matters a lot.
All right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So the I have chosen you echoes God's language when appointing leaders like Moses or like David. While Jewish tradition does not see Zerubbabel as the Messiah, this language carries messianic undertones, suggesting that God's plan for the Davidic line is still alive.
Right.
It's going somewhere. I don't know where it's going, but it's going somewhere.
It matters enough for basically God to reinstate the Davidic line.
Yes.
So that makes it super important to the whole Judaism and Christianity.
Yes.
So
here are some rabbinic and traditional interpretations, okay?
Yeah.
Just got a couple things to say here and then we're done, okay? Zerubbabel is not seen as the Messiah, like I said, but he is viewed as a righteous leader who plays an extremely critical role in reestablishing Jewish life in the land after exile, okay? Mm-hmm. So he's like the guy that put it all back together there toward the end, okay?
Yeah.
Some midrashic sources hint at messianic expectations surrounding him, but the mainstream Jewish view is that he is a prototype or a foreshadowing, not the fulfillment of the messianic promise. So, I mean, they got some Jesus views in them, even though they don't think Jesus is the one.
Right. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's what Christianity capitalized on, was the messianic prophecies from Judaism.
Yes. But they're like, no, it's not him, though.
Right.
He is a Jew, that is correct. And he is maybe a prophet. We will even allow for that.
Yeah.
Maybe. Sure. Okay. But no, he is not the Messiah that was promised.
Right.
And I haven't got there yet, so I don't know why.
I am very curious if there are Jewish texts specifically about Jesus outside of biblical texts.
I have no idea.
That would be an interesting side venture.
That really would.
Because I am curious, because I have heard it said multiple times that Judaism accepts Jesus as a prophet.
Right.
Right.
But then
why if you're not accepting Christianity, why would you accept him as a prophet unless you take slightly different takes on how he says things? I
think that he probably shows up in midrashes, which would be where they would write about that later on.
And that's what I'm curious
about. Not in the Torah
I'd
or
be
Tanakh.
Curious about the Jewish texts that maybe indicate something about Jesus later on.
Yeah.
Because that would be interesting to me.
Yeah. That would not be part of our Bible reading, because that would just be people sitting around talking about it, literature conversations.
And look, I don't even know if these exist. That'd be something I want to check into.
Sure.
So,
all right. So last point, Haggai, chapter 2, verse 23, which again is the final verse and one of the most important ones here in this post-exile world. From a Jewish lens, is a reassurance that despite the exile and political upheaval, God's covenant with David remains. Even though he's it doesn't. It's done.
Right.
It does remain.
Yeah.
Okay. Zerubbabel is chosen not as a king, but as a representative of hope, signaling God's continued presence and favor with Israel and pointing toward a future messianic fulfillment yet to come.
Got it.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that is where we drop this book off and leave it done and say, we have completed another book of the Bible, except we got to do contradictions and pop quiz.
Yes, and that will be coming up soon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be honest with you, based on how long this episode was.
Mm-hmm.
I probably am not going to sleep tonight. So,
Ew.
and so it may not be tomorrow. It may be a couple of days before we get to the next one out.
Yeah.
And I apologize in advance, but this was an hour and a half long.
Oh, sorry.
And I still have to get you somewhere tonight.
Yes,
and
you do.
So I have to be at work in the morning.
Oh, yucky.
So this is a not fun rest of the day for me.
Not fun.
So I'll be going to bed
night.
early tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. And
it's so interesting, like, how much we got out of that, how long this episode was. It was only 2 fucking chapters.
Yeah.
That speaks of how important this book was.
Well, no, this episode was longer than the 2 chapters we read put together, I think.
Yeah.
So there was a lot to cover as far as the importance of these things with regard to future events in Christianity.
Knowing what's coming.
And how, it all interacts with Judaism / Christianity, etc.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's just, I don't know. That was really interesting to me. And I don't think I really answered, like, this would have been a Q&A also, if we had more chapters, but I don't know that I answered any questions per se, but I covered some interesting material.
Covered a lot of ground there. So,
yeah.
That's all we got for today.
Yes, it is.
So we will see you in a couple of days with the contradictions.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll be back with the weekly wrap-up after that. Replay. Sorry, yeah, that's what I meant.
Yep.
And then we'll be starting a new book of the Bible, which is...
I think it's Zechariah, and I think it's 14 chapters long, so that'll be fun.
It starts with a Z at the very least.
I'm pretty sure it's Zechariah. Because I kept thinking Zeki, and that is what Quark calls his mom in Deep Space Nine.
It is.
So I just kept thinking Zeki. Zeki!
All right, guys. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Hey, wife, I guess that's the end?
But husband, that's just sad.
It doesn't have to be. We are on lots of social media platforms like Twitter. Our handle there is sacrilegious_D.
For D's nuts.
Oh my God. Stop doing that. Anyway, we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. There's a link to all of our social media sites at our website.
Ooh, we have a website?
Yeah, it's sacrilegiousdiscourse.com, where you can also find a link to our merch shop.
We have a merch shop?
Yep, we have podcast-themed clothing, mugs, notebooks, and more, as well as an atheist and science-themed products.
Wow, our fans should really go check that out right now.
Definitely. They can get in touch with us by sending an email to sacrilegiousdiscourse@gmail.com. But before they do that, we could really use some help.
Oh yeah? With what?
Well, it's not free running the podcast, and we need some financial support in order to get better equipment, which will free up time so we can concentrate on our podcast and our fans.
Okay, so what should they do?
Head over to patreon.com/sacrilegious discourse and sign up as a contributor on our podcast. Supporters there receive additional bi-weekly episodes that we record just for our Patreon members for as little as $2 a month.
Also, we'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe on whatever platform you're using.
And Apple Podcast reviews help us out tremendously.
Like and subscribe, leave an Apple review, join us on Twitter, support us on Patreon. That's a lot of instructions. Don't forget to say thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.